right, scholars, now that we have read our text, we're going to focus in on making connections between two ideas in the text. Okay, but let's back up for a second. What is a connection? So, a connection is something that two ideas have in common or something that makes them similar. Next, let's focus in on how to make those connections. All right, scholars, now that we have an understanding of what a connection is, let's go ahead and start to figure out how to determine if two ideas are connected. And if they are connected, we're going to figure out how to describe the connection between them. So if you look right below, there's an anchor chart that has 3 steps that are going to help us do those 2 things. So the first step on our anchor chart is to study words and pictures about 2 ideas. Step number 2 is to ask ourselves, what is the same about the ideas? Step number 3, how do the ideas go together? So step numbers 1 and 2 are going to help us determine if there is a connection, and step number 3 will help us describe that connection. So Ms. G has taken out 2 ideas from the author's note that we're going to analyze or look at to see if there's a connection between them. Idea number 1 is, oh, it looks like Ms. G left off the letter E. Around the world, there are many librarians and libraries that travel long distances. Idea number 2, in Kenya, camel caravans deliver books to nomads in the desert. So let's go ahead and do step 1. Look down at the anchor chart and remind yourself, what is step 1? Study the words and pictures about the ideas. On the author's note, were there any pictures for us to study? No, there were not. So let's just look at these words here. The way that we're going to study these words today is by paraphrasing. And paraphrasing just means that you put it into your own words. Okay, so when we paraphrase, we want to make sure that we keep all of the main ideas about the sentence and not change it up too much so that the sentence is saying something different. We want to make sure that it's still conveying the same idea. So for idea 1, Miss G could say, there are many librarians and libraries all over the earth that travel long distances. I just changed one part, is that okay? Yeah, it is. Let's go ahead and paraphrase idea number 2. Let's see, for idea number 2, Miss G could say, in Kenya, there are long lines of camels that deliver books to people in the desert. Let's see if that paraphrase worked. Did I include all the important details? Did I include where this was happening? Yes, in Kenya. Did I include what was happening? Yes. Camel caravans, which are long lines of camels, are delivering books. So we included the what. And to who is this happening, or to whom is this happening? The nomads in the desert, Miss G just said, to people in the desert. So that's our paraphrasing. Let's go ahead and move on to step number 2. What is the same about the 2 ideas? Let's think. Well, when Miss G was paraphrasing, she said that there were important details about each of these. So let's see if any of those details are related, are connected, are the same. Let's start with the where. So in idea 1, the place that this is happening is around the world. And in idea 2, the place that it's happening is in Kenya. Are these 2 related? Are they similar? Let's think. Well, where is Kenya anyways? Is it a part of the United States? No. Kenya is a country on the continent of Africa. So that's definitely not in the United States. How about around the world? Where's around the world? Yeah, it's just everywhere. Anywhere can be around the world. So is Kenya around the world? Yes, it is. Let's go ahead and annotate by underlining so that we can remember that these two ideas are the same when it comes to where they're taking place. Let's think about another part of these ideas. Well, idea one is talking about traveling and traveling long distances. What about idea two? Is there anything about traveling in idea two? Yes, there is. So we know that camel caravans are delivering books to nomads in the desert. That means that the camel caravans don't start out in the desert. They have to travel there. And for all we know, it could be a long distance. It probably is, since the desert is pretty big. So let's go ahead and underline those two so that we can show and remember that those two ideas are related. There's one more thing I see that's related between these two ideas. This one mentions librarians and libraries. And this one mentions books. Where can we find books? In libraries, that's right. So let's go ahead and underline libraries and books, because we know that those two are related. They have something in common. Let's move on to our final step, step number 3. How do the ideas go together? So we've definitely determined that these two ideas are connected. We can tell by all the things that they have in common, or all the things that are related to each other. So in order to determine how the ideas go together, we have 3 more questions that we can ask ourselves to help us. The first question: are they first, second, or third? So does one of these ideas come before the other? Is one idea step 1 and the other idea step 2? Nah. Let's move on to the next question. Does one explain the other? So ideas can explain each other through being an example. So let's see if one idea is an example of the other. There are many librarians and libraries that travel long distances. Is this very specific? Is this telling us exactly who these librarians are, where they are, who they are, where they're going? Nah, it's not too specific. So it could have an example. An example would be a little bit more specific. It would tell us where it's happening, who's doing it. Let's see if idea 2 is an example of idea 1. In Kenya, that's a specific place around the world, camel caravans deliver books to nomads in the desert. Those are libraries that are traveling long distances. The camel caravans are the libraries, and the long distance that they're going is to the desert. So yes, idea number 2 is going to be an example of idea number 1. We have determined 2 things. The first thing that we determined is that these 2 ideas are indeed connected. The second thing that we've determined is how they are connected. They are connected because idea 2 is an example of idea number 1.